The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com.
All right, welcome on, faithful. Thank you for joining us here on another episode of the Lockup. Today we have none other than multi-time DOA Tag Team Champion Draven Vargas, who is the second member of Hellbound we have on our show. How are you this fine evening, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I am fantastic. Now we had Rat King on last week. He was great, and he just won that title. Great for him, great for Hellbound.
Oh yeah, that was a hell of a match. Blood everywhere. We had a show on this last night, and we got to the show, and we all had to pick the thumbtacks out of our boots from celebrating after the match in the ring. That was just littered in tacks. We were all skating on tap shoes.
Well, I guess it's better, to have the tacks in your shoes than in your back.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to not get that. Rat King wasn't quite that so lucky. He had them there. He had them in his forehead. He had them all over.
Oof. Yeah, not envious there. Envious of the title win, but not envious of the tacks.
Yeah, same there. It was I've been in some wars with Wade Hess like he was, but not. That one was just incredible. That one blew me away. I was watching it as a fan, loving it, and I was watching one of my brothers in there bleeding everywhere, hating it.
Speaking of Wade Hess, there's a tag title match coming up this weekend. How are you feeling about that? You think he's gonna try to get some revenge?
Yeah, these guys right here will be on the line this Sunday. That's how Hellbound got the titles, is from the Hess Express. It was a different, and it was a different combination then. It was me and the Rat King.
Mm-hmm.
But me and Petrov have been out there defending these tag titles while Rat King's been going after the heavyweight title. And, when it's Wade Hess, you can never say that you're 100% confident that you're going to walk out with whatever you walked in with, whether that be all your limbs or your title or whatever. But I think we got it. I think after the beating that he took from the Rat King, I think he's not at 100%. And we've wrestled those guys enough. I think we got the experience to be able to take them out. Sure.
1 week after Last Man Standing match, you're not going to be 100%. You'd be lucky to be 80%.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever been in a Last Man Standing, but I've been in a few Last Team Standing matches, which are honestly, I think almost more brutal because of the fact that you have to get both guys down. So generally one guy's down for 20 seconds while you're taking on the second guy,
Right.
So there's a lot of times that would have been 10 counts, and they won't because both members weren't down. But they weren't against Wade Hess. They weren't against the Rat King, and I wouldn't want to be in a Last Man Standing match with either of those guys. So I know for a fact I've been seeing Rat King limping around and still with, cuts in his forehead and tack marks all over his body. Wade Hess has got to be, maybe at 80%, but, kind of like Steiner math, I guess. 80% of Wade Hess is 100% of a lot of other guys. So that's, it's still going to be a hell of a match. It's going to be a hell of a fight. And I'm always looking forward to the chance to get in there and prove myself against Hess.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. Hopefully Hellbound can remain on top with all tag titles, all heavyweight titles for as long as possible.
Yeah, of course. That's always the goal. We plan to keep on those, get our higher paychecks with the championship for as long as possible. But also just us having those belts is, to us, it's not just for us, it's for the fans. The fans show their support every week. They come out there, with they show it at the merch table. They show it in the audience. They're standing there. They're clapping. They're screaming our names. And we wouldn't be able to where we're at now without them. So we're hoping to hold on to those bad boys for as long as we can, just for them, just to show them that we'll keep fighting for them every day.
Right. Speaking of merch, when I look back and I see everything you guys have sold, you guys have sold some pretty crazy things, some things that are way out there. What is one thing that surprises you that sells at the merch table, whether it's Hellbound or somebody else that you've seen that's just really out there?
Let's see. I honestly, I probably have the craziest merch table. Heck, I was just showing these guys off earlier the new Hellbound teddy bears. We're always adding new stuff. The thing that probably surprises me the most, trying to think, I probably like the little fridge magnets. I kind of expected them to be like kind of here and there, and they sell like pretty consistently. And I guess it kind of makes sense because it's like something you don't have, you don't have to take over your whole phone like we have for the pop sockets, your keychain or whatever. You can just take up a corner of your fridge with a Hellbound, fridge magnet. People like that.
Right, and it's the perfect little trinket to say, you want to support your local indie wrestlers, but you don't have a whole lot of money. Usually magnets are the perfect cheap. I want to support you, but I don't have a lot of money.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what we try to have all little things from big things all the way down to the little things. So everybody can get something if they want. Even little $1 buttons we got. And sometimes when the kids come up, they don't got money. Here's a sticker or one of these $1 buttons, just because you're showing how much you're passionate for us, so we'll show it right back.
Right. Yeah, that's great. That's how you got to do it. You got to treat the fans right. They're really invested into it. Show them a good time. I'm sure they really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, yeah. And we love. Honestly, they're the drug that fuels the passion. That's what we're all addicted to, is that crowd reaction. And the BCW crowd, especially there lately, they've just been so loud. Whether it's a sellout or not, you wouldn't be able to tell from the back locker room because it's loud. They're blowing the roof off the joint.
Right.
So we love it.
The one thing that made me really laugh was when I was scrolling through you guys' merch and I saw the frisbee. And I remember Rat King talking about when he just chucked the frisbee and got the guy right in the throat.
Yeah, yep. So that's why that was the inspiration for that. Is we got that whole frisbee thing, which was pretty impromptu. Like we just went out there and we were just having fun, and somebody had a frisbee, and like you said, we love our fans. So if they're gonna bring us a frisbee, we're gonna throw it at somebody. And all of a sudden, I turn around and Rat King's just like Xena Warrior Princess taking people out with this frisbee. And so then I had to get on that and check out, see if we could get some frisbees, because that's just amazing. I'm sure people are going to love those.
Start throwing Hellbound frisbees like you're Raiden from Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, yep. Absolutely.
Speaking of the Hellbound gang, you guys travel everywhere. There's got to be some pretty crazy stories, out there. The ride-alongs. What are those like?
Sometimes very incriminating. I'm sure if there was documentation, we'd all be, people would be like, wow. Generally, there's drinking and smoking, and just generally just having fun, just making each other laugh. That's why we all enjoy. We're more than just a tag team. We're a brotherhood. We just love to be around each other. We're all best friends. And it really, honestly, surprising with that is, like, before Hellbound, we were all acquaintances, and we decided to team up, and it's just become ride or die situation now. But yeah, most of the stories that we can tell have probably gone on our lives, because we're trying to be good boys on there. But generally a lot of drinking and smoking and just having a good time, making each other just laugh. A lot of stopping to pee. I'll say that too.
So a lot of bonding, basically. We'll leave it at that.
Oh yeah. When you're in a car with your brothers for like 6 hours going to Idaho, and then you're 6 hours on the way back the same night, for one, you got to all talk to keep each other awake. And two, there's nothing else to do. You can listen to music, but that gets old after a while. You gotta just entertain each other. And that's why we started doing the Riding with Hellbound lives. We'll just throw a camera that gets the same view of the road that we have. You're just driving down the road with us and just get to join in on our conversations. We'll take Q&As from people sometimes. Some interesting stuff gets said on there too. Not always by us either.
Now the Ride with Hellbound, that sounds really, really interesting. We'll have to promote that, get some people to check it out.
Yeah, we try to share it. Generally, if you know we got a long show coming up, like this Saturday, I'm sure we'll at least go live a couple times. We generally don't reshare them afterwards, just because it's like we want people to come join us. But if there was something that was really entertaining and nothing that would, get us in trouble, we probably would share those.
All right. Let's talk about your early influences. What got you into wrestling?
As far as like enjoying watching, my brother was a huge wrestling fan when I was younger. Back when like early Hulk Hogan days, watching. I remember. I can't really remember watching like Andre and Hulk. I can't say. I was pretty young at that point in time, but definitely like one of my big things is me and my brother really divided. I was a huge Ultimate Warrior fan, and he was a huge Hulk Hogan fan going into WrestleMania 6. And I mean, both of those guys have turned out to not, in hindsight, not have the greatest personal nature, and actually, but they drew you in. They're entertainers, and that's what we try to carry forth out of that. We try to take what we can forward and just be entertainers as much as we can.
Right. I think
sorry, go ahead.
I think when we look back at a lot of the guys we watched growing up, back from the late 80s, early 90s, we find out nowadays they weren't really such good role models, but, you got to try to sometimes separate it, the entertainer from the actual person.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, yeah. And some people over time have changed too, but yeah, the one that it really broke my heart when I found out like more about Ultimate Warrior going on, how he was in his personal life, but then as a wrestler, also watching his matches, I was like, oh, that also breaks my heart as a fan. But he was an entertaining, he grabbed you, he entertained you, and you can take whatever you want out of that. He's influenced a lot of people, obviously he had influences on Batista and, guys like that. Batista said that wild shaking the rope style he got from, Ultimate Warrior. And it makes sense, that pure energy, you still got to carry something out of that, even if you don't like the guy, which is pretty easy to not like that guy.
Yeah, I think when we look back at who we like today, if certain situations where we see, guys of today, they were influenced as well, some of the, I guess you could say, terrible people from the past. So we might not have all the people that we do today. For instance, like you said, Batista with Ultimate Warrior. We don't know if you would have had him.
Right. Yeah. And like, it wasn't just wrestling, all of entertainment, you go back and you look at how many people idolized John Wayne, and a lot of people did that. And then you find out that he, in a lot of cases, wasn't a very great individual either. It's a product of the times, and that doesn't mean it's 100% excuse for their actions or their beliefs, but it was a different time, and we, like you said, you take what you can. Even that, seeing terrible people is an education on how to not be a terrible person.
Right. So I look back, I want to say it's probably like the mid 2000s you got into wrestling. Is that correct?
Yeah, I started training. I don't know exact dates. I'm not one of those guys that wrote down every date, but August of 2003 was the first time I ever stepped foot in a wrestling ring. Buddy Rose and Colonel DeBeer's training. I had my first match late 2003, early 2004, and then my first paid match in August of 2004.
Now, what was that made you decide, to go from fan to try to get into the ring, to try to train, or was that always a goal of yours growing up?
When I was younger, that's literally everything I wanted to do. You know, my wrestling got banned in my house for a while. Me and my brother used to wrestle, and my brother, Ultimate Warrior, slammed me on my parents' bed, and we like broke the leg of the bed. But even then, I would sneak wrestling whenever I could. You know. Then later, I got the Attitude Era, like early NWO, early like Shawn Michaels, DX, kind of watching them like Bret Hart on his way out, getting back into it is when I got super heavy into wrestling again. And we did all the backyard stuff. Not the I was not always like a jump off the roof into a barbed wire, whatever crap backyard guy. We pulled out a mattress and bumped on there because I was a wuss. You know, we tried to actually like work with each other because my brother, when I was a little kid, he tried to spoil wrestling for me and say, oh, those guys are working together. And it became an art to me watching it then. So I absolutely loved watching it from a different point of view then. Mm-hmm. And then Sam Sims, he's best friends with my cousin, and we were all hanging out. He used to pirate all the wrestling shows and stuff like that. His mom had gotten a black box back in the day, and we used to watch the pay-per-views over there. And one day, just later, I was like in 2003, like I said, we were just hanging out playing basketball, and he goes, "Hey man, would you ever want to train to be a wrestler?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "I've been training with Buddy Rose," and I'm like the Buddy Rose? And he goes, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Why are you just telling me about this? Like, how long you been doing this?" Like, a couple months. I'm like, "Really?" Like, "Yeah." Like, when do you go? He's like, "Well, it's every Sunday." And I'm like, "Well, we're going this Sunday. I will drive." And I went that Sunday, and I never looked back. I went every Sunday from then on out. Absolutely fell in love with it. I was into doing sports and really heavily into theater in high school. So wrestling to me, I loved it, and everything to me was a focus on wrestling. Anything that I thought would help me in wrestling. I was never super athletic, but I could always was athletic for a bigger guy. You know, I've always been chubby, but I've always been able to be pretty athletic even within that. But then like theater, trying to excel in that, trying to get used to being in front of hundreds of people and being 100% comfortable with it, which is, I think, one of the biggest things that guys have a hard time with is you'll get athletes come in and they're used to being part of a team, hidden away, covered up in a cost, their uniform, where they just look like everybody else. And this business, you got to break out of that and open up and become big. And that was something I always wanted to be the center of attention. And wrestling to me seemed like I already loved it, so it was one of the perfect ways to go about getting all that attention. So that was after that. We trained with Buddy and Colonel for most of the rest. I think the rest of the year, like messed up my knee really bad in training, and then when I came back, my buddy was like, "Hey, Sandy Barr is training as well. Do you want to go check that out?" And I was like, "Yeah." I remember my parents talking about Sandy Barr reffing all the matches and stuff back in the day. Mm-hmm. This is crazy, here, being able to like all these people that I grew up hearing stories about, getting to meet them and learn from them. And I remember Sandy Barr. We went in and we asked him how much it costs to train, and he takes a long drag on his cigarette and he goes, "That's a $2,000 deposit, and then this much." And we're like, "Holy hell! We don't got that kind of money, right?" And he goes, "Okay, how about this? You can train with me for free as long as you work for me for free for a while till you get it." And we're like, "So wait, you want us to train for free and then you want to give us a place to wrestle after we're ready?" "Yeah, let's do this." And so, we dove right into that. And that was going from Buddy Rose and Colonel De Beers, where it was very much to focus on the theatrics and the, just being a big character, to going to Sandy, who focused on like the hard edge, like here's how you learn how to break a guy's arm, and then we'll learn how to do the rest. type stuff like that. It was night and day, and that's where I met one of my best friends ever, Dr. Cleaver, and we've been through. Though we've fought and beat the hell out of each other over the years. He's one of my longest and bestest friends in the entire world, and that's probably why we beat the heck out of each other so much, is because we love each other.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, growing up in the theater or being in theater in high school, I mean, that's really got to be like early training for wrestling, as far as cutting promos, placement of where to be and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think, being able to cut promos, having another thing is having a theater coach be able to, like, here's a line, and you almost completely change the wording or the meaning of the line by saying it this way or stressing this word. That, is just such good training for promos, and just being comfortable, like doing monologues and stuff like that, where you're standing in front of a theater full of people and just talking. And also, in addition to that, it helped with little things like that. Like we did some theater falling and stuff like that kind of helped. Like I'd already kind of knew how to like break my fall, even if I fell off steps and stuff like that. So that kind of helped. The surprising one that I think is being able to keep your wind with theater, and like I did musical theater too. Being able to like dance and sing and stuff like that is a whole different kind of wind. That it's not quite like wrestling wind, but you learn how to breathe and talk, and talking from your stomach instead of talking from your chest, where you can project in a room full of loud people. You can project all the way. And in theater, I used to say that I wasn't loud enough unless I could hear my voice bounce off the back wall and hit me back on the stage again, because then I knew I hit everybody in the building.
Nice.
And so that's what I've tried to get into wrestling. And it's a little harder when you're running around beating the heck out of somebody, but trying to project from the stomach is a lot better. You won't shout your throat out every match, which I've caught myself doing, especially when my wind is down. I shout more and scream more than projecting, and you'll tell your throw up. And even knowing what I'm doing over the years, I've sounded more and more like Macho Man or whatever over the years. You just get that throat gravel from shouting all the time. Then going and washing your throat with whiskey afterwards doesn't help either.
Well, if you fully get to the Macho Man status, we expect a cream rises to the top promo from you, recreation of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So now we know you've worked with DOA, you worked with Blue Collar Wrestling. What other promotions have you worked with?
I've worked with not as much a lot of the newer ones, but I was there when like WCWC first started. PNPW out on the coast in Astoria. They run monthly. I wrestle for them. I'm currently one half the tag team champions there. Excuse me. Going back, there was an earlier version of PNPW, an earlier company called CPW, not the current one. This Saturday, we're going to be going out to support All Pro Wrestling out in Idaho. Those shows are a lot of fun too. That was where the frisbee incident happened. We're constantly always looking for new promotions to test out and see too. We just were down last night. There's a new company that just opened up in Ocean Shores, Washington, called Rogue Wrestling Attractions. They had their debut show. It went really well, and their setup was. We walked in and we were blown away by the setup. It was a big room with lots of seats, a big long ramp and everything. It was pretty fun. We had a lot of fun, and getting paid to go to the beach is
nice.
No joke either.
So what was it like working with WCWC?
How
was that experience?
I was pretty new when I had 3 different runs with them. I was there when they first started. I was pretty green. Like they actually originally started it where there was PNPW in Washington or in Portland, and then they started running PNPW South or PNPW Salem, I think is what they called it. And that was where Jeff Manning started running shows in Salem. and then that branched off in the WCWC, and it was every time I've been there, I've always had fun. I've always enjoyed the crowd. The crowd over there was always very appreciative. That's where I started really becoming Gene Simmons and selling everything I could put my logo on.
Nice.
I was one of those guys. I wasn't winning a lot of matches, but I sure as heck was walking away with the fatter wallet after the end of the night with the merch table. And that's all, that just shows me that the fans cared, and that's all I care about, obviously there's wrestling. The wrestling business has its politics. And so that was probably the biggest issue I had there, was the backstage politics and dealing with, certain people within the power structure there. I don't want to be too negative on that. Anybody who really knows the company understands where I'm getting at from there. So, I went there a lot earlier than a lot of guys did, and got out a lot earlier. So I didn't even see, some of the later ends of it. But there's a lot of good guys that come out of there, including that, Rat King. That's where he got his original training from, was the WC Academy. They had a lot of guys in that. Basically, that academy has become Oregon Wrestling School, or the remnants of that. The same guys that were training there have become that. So, that's left that a great legacy. So, it is what it is. Like I said, I don't want to get too negative on my experiences, but,
right.
Definitely has changed the complexion of the Northwest a lot from all the guys that have come out of there.
That's good to hear. Now, what about future goals? Do you have any plans for the future? What you want to accomplish that you haven't yet? Any promotions that you want to hit?
Like I said, we're always looking to add companies. Always looking to add states that we haven't been to as well. Petrov's definitely traveled a lot all over the country. Now Hellbound has wrestled in Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. In October, I think it is, or August, we're going to be adding California to that. That'll give us the entire Northwest and the West Coast. So we're always looking to expand out of there. Our goals are just to make this thing as big as we can. Everywhere we can go, just try to spread have fun while we can. I don't have a lot of years left in my career. I've accepted that. So in the meantime, I'm just trying to pass on as much as I can to the business. Have fun and just leave the business better than I can. I wish when I was younger, I would have realized that the business would evolve again back into, guys like Kevin Owens being in WWE. I probably would have stepped up my game a little harder. But I got into this business knowing I was never going to look like Randy Orton, no matter how hard I tried. And I kind of accepted that I wasn't going to go super far. So I've always been thankful for what I have. And then in the last 7 or 8 years, I'm trying to claw. I've won a few heavyweight championships. I'm trying to get back into that main event, try to pass it on now. Now we got Rat King in the main event, which is a wonderful thing, and we're just trying to expand Hellbound everywhere we can go.
Well, you're closing in on a 20-year career, which in this business is impressive in itself.
Yeah. It's crazy to me sometimes when I think back. I think the thing that blew me away when Hellbound were first getting together, I was going to cut a promo with Rat King, on Rat King, because he'd told me to join him. Basically, he was telling he'd cut a promo where basically saying that I'd lost a step and I was a shell of my former self, and he could make me better, which he sure as hell has. He's 100% right. But I was cutting a promo back and be like, "You think I'm a shell of my former self? Well, kid, I've been winning championships since." And I was like, how old would he have been when I won my first? Because I won my first tag title in 2005. And I go, how old were you? And he's like, I'd have been in second grade. And I was like, holy crap! I've been winning championship belts since you were in second grade. It puts things in perspective now. Yeah. And I really the COVID shutdown helped a lot physically because at one point I had told myself I was going to stop at 40. And then before COVID, I was like 36, 37-ish. And I was like, I don't know if I can make it to 40. My body's breaking down. I don't know if I can do it. I'm going to put everything I can. And, I was working on trying to get in better shape. And then COVID hit and there was no wrestling for 20 months, 18, 20 months, whatever it is. And being able to just not beat my body up and work on myself a little bit. I definitely came back out of shape. I'm not going to say I came back in shape, but my knees didn't hurt every moment I was awake. My back hurt less. I could look equally both ways, and I was like, wow, my body's actually had some time to heal. This is nice. And then when I got back into wrestling, I'm like, well, I'm either going to have it or I'm not. And it took a minute to get back into the swing of things, but now I'm like, I don't know. 40's coming up real fast. I don't know if I can just stop then. So I'm going to see how long we got left on that, how many miles we got left. So
yeah, the unexpected, recovery time sure helped a lot of people.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was kind of interesting because there's a lot of guys that you would think were going to, the younger guys that were in great shape in it. The time away came at a bad time for them. And then generally just COVID itself, it was a lot of people. It got to a lot of people's mental issues. It got to mine, being stuck in, not having that outside, people to go to, not having that human contact, it got to a lot of people. And so there's some people that just didn't come back to wrestling. And then there's a lot of guys that you'd think were on the last legs that came back healthier because they're like, oh man, there's just been nagging injury. I haven't had time to just sit down and heal. And I had the time to sit down and let that heal, all the little nagging mounting injuries heal up. And obviously you still got wear and tear and lots of miles on the road. But I'm definitely feeling every match more than I did a decade ago, but I'm feeling drinking more than I did a decade ago, all that stuff. The next morning is a little rougher on everything. And if I didn't wrestle, I'm sure every morning it'd be a little rougher anyway.
Oh, yeah. When we get up there in age, every night of drinking, it's like, oh, I can't do this anymore like I used to. You forget that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I definitely have learned my limits a lot better because I used to, you just drink until you can't drink no more. And now I'm like, I'm good with a couple drinks. I'm feeling great. I'm in party mode. I'm chill. I'm going to drink water now. Or I need a lot of ice in this drink, please, so I keep myself hydrated while I'm drinking.
That's a life tip there for you. Extra ice, stay hydrated.
Yep. Yeah, it's they tell you to alternate between, a drink, a hard drink and a water or something like that if you don't want a hangover. But if your drink's half water, then it does the math for you.
My trick was always to the last thing you drink at the end of the night was a Gatorade. And that always seemed to help me quite a bit.
Yeah, Gatorade. I try. That's one of the things that really is nice for wrestling is I'm always got a bottle of water in my hand earlier in the day, and then usually a Gatorade afterwards. So even if I'm drinking on the way home, I'm drinking Gatorade. So that kind of helps a lot that way.
Right. All right. Well, as we wrap things up here, I got a little game we like to play called the Electric Chair. So it's kind of like a little 6-question rapid fire game. Some will be wrestling, some will not be wrestling. Just go with the first thing that comes to your mind here. So what is the best snack to have in the car rides, the long car rides?
I really like those blueberry cream Danishes that they just come in a little package. Those are nice because you get a little bit of everything in that, and it's pretty filling.
Those are really good. Who is one legend you would have loved to wrestle that isn't around with us anymore?
Oh, that one's really, really hard. Eddie Guerrero, probably that guy. Yeah, I mean, for one, I don't know if I'd be able to keep up, but he also is one of those guys. He can make anybody look good.
He's one of the great.
Other than that, yeah, other than that, one of the guys, not because he's not with us anymore, but the fact that he just can't wrestle is Regal. That's another one of those guys. He's one of my top 5 of all time. So I'd love to have gotten in the ring with him.
And I absolutely love him on commentary now as well.
Oh yeah, I love everything that guy does. His podcast is amazing.
Yes.
His book is amazing. His book actually helped me get through a lot of like some family, stuff that I went through when I was younger. Helped me clear a lot of that. Being able to see things from the other side of the situation helped a lot, and being able to get in that the other person's mind really, really helped me heal a lot mentally.
That's good to hear. Question 3: what is one city you would love to wrestle in that you haven't been to yet?
Oh, I mean, New York, Madison Square Garden.
That's
got to be up there.
I've been there. I've been to Madison Square Garden. I've been on the inside, but there wasn't an event going on. It's just kind of like I'm close to New York City, so I've been there quite a bit. And there's a subway station that actually stops right inside Madison Square Garden. So I've gotten off there a few times just to say I've been there. But one of these days I'll see a wrestling event there.
Yeah.
What is the one CD or your favorite CD that you can listen to start to finish and love every song?
Oh, probably just because it's old school and I don't really listen to it all that often, but a lot more since I've been on the road with Petrov. Super old school. The Great Malenko by ICP. It's definitely not for everybody, but early influence, like early my wrestling career, especially influencing that CD, and teenage me, that was a big heavy influence on it.
So we're right about the same age. I remember them being really big, in high school. They had quite the following on WWE for a little while and got their own wrestling promotion.
So I remember like having seen them on like Hard Copy or something like that, talking about this crazy band that throws Fago all over. And I was a kid. I thought they were throwing beer all over the crowd. I'm like, why? That's the only reason people could be upset, right? And then later when I found out it was like soda, and they even use diet soda so it doesn't get sticky and stuff, I'm like, oh, well, that's completely different. But then seeing them on WWF, with the oddities, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then my buddy ended up getting the Great Malenko and then started getting their CDs, and we started just jamming out to it all the time. And like I said, it's definitely not for everybody. It's not even for most. But, young me loved it.
Growing up, what was your favorite Saturday morning cartoon, the one you couldn't miss?
Probably. No, that wasn't Saturday morning, but like I was doing the cartoons I remember a lot were like X-Men. No, X-Men was Saturday morning, I think, and then the Batman animated series. I absolutely love those ones. I
think they started on Saturday and then eventually moved to the, just when you get home after school.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, those, and then like I really enjoyed like Garfield and stuff like that, but mainly because my brothers are super into it.
And then last question, what is the biggest what the fuck moment in wrestling you've witnessed? Whether live or on TV.
That I've what? Oh, live was super really early in my career. I remember the main event, watching the challenge, or no, actually it was the champion, be so messed up on God only knows what, that his opponent basically ended up just changing the finish in the middle of the match, became champion, just had to like legitimately grabbed him up by the belt and choke slammed the living hell out of him. And you could just hear the guy couldn't stand straight. I'm not going to stand here and bury people. I think they've worked on themselves. But that, especially as a kid or a young guy in this business, having never seen that was like, what the fuck? You're like, just hearing, just standing up in the balcony watching it, I'd never seen that before. And it put the business in a whole different perspective for me.
Yeah,
On
something like that is
TV,
gonna change it all for you.
yeah. On TV, either the Mae Young hand, or I wasn't really into the Edge and Christian. That would have been a completely different segment. Edge and Lita live sex celebration. Uh, that I just was like, why? Like, I obviously grew up in the Attitude Era. I appreciated the female form on wrestling, but that I just didn't even understand that. I thought you were just trying to push the limits too far at that point in time.
Yeah, totally agree on that. So we'll end things here. Draven, where can people find you if they want to follow you or learn more about you?
Mainly on Facebook, Draven Vargas on Facebook. You can also check out the Hellbound. If you Google Hellbound or Facebook search Hellbound, we got a page, we got a group, and we're always out and about. I don't really have like an Insta or anything like that. I need to, but I barely get on the social media other than to just laugh at stuff. So, or share wrestling stuff. So, like, yeah, getting on other form of social media is too much for me to add. But yeah, just Facebook mainly. I always am sharing stuff there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. We will link your Facebook and stuff to our video description here. Thank you for joining us, and good luck on Sunday.
Thank you for having me. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.